of you who weren't on last night, the 9 questions are questions that over sort of the last 20 years, they're a series of questions that have just been added to over time gone by that have really just put that fork in the road for me, that's made me snap out of or choose a different way, or given me some sort of perspective shift on their own. Just 9 questions, and they're not really spiritual questions, they're more psychological questions. But what I usually say when it comes to the psychological, like the practical psychology stuff that I include with nearly everything that I do, is that it really goes hand in hand, because we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So if our spirit is in its authentic alignment, then we can use those human tools, those psychology tools, to help make our human experience a ton easier. So these are far more psychological than they are spiritual. So I just wanted to start by saying that, because I don't want people to think that these 9 questions that I'm about to read out are going to be super spiritual. And I don't want you to think that you're going to have to pull some spirituality out of your butt to be able to make up your own questions. So my first question on the 9 questions is, can I relabel? Now, this is a really, really, really useful question, because some of you might have already done this with me before, in terms of the language that we use and how that does a few things to us. Sometimes it completely changes our vibration. Sometimes it completely changes our body function and body response to the language that we're using. So if we're generalizing, distorting, and deleting a lot of language to be able to describe an experience, so you know, we might see something and just say, oh, wow, that was horrific. And it's like, was it really horrific? Because are you using that word and it's far too strong of a word to use for something that might have just been disgusting? Or, you know, are you like are you in agony? Or are you just experiencing, you know, pain that's just not going away? It's just like, it's really painful. Or is it, I'm in agony? You know, if you say, oh, I'm ecstatic, are you? Or are you just using that word to heighten someone's idea of how you're actually feeling, and really you're just super happy? And like, I understand that when we're younger, it's just like, broaden your vocabulary and use words that are more descriptive and things like that. But ultimately, when it comes down to experiencing real dilemmas in life, or real issues and problems that just aren't sort of fixing themselves, it's not helpful to go and, you know, use an encyclopedia to describe how you're feeling. It's just not. It's more helpful if you just bring it full back to the basic foundations of very simple language and words. So if I can relabel something, I'll use an example of what I would use that for. Usually these 9 questions are for me when it comes to work, because work for me, like, I know last night I was talking about how I moved from that high vibe space, but that high vibe space isn't always there. So most of the time, or, you know, a whole big chunk of the time really, is not in that space when I'm trying to think about things for work. So sometimes I can be just like, you know, maybe saying, I'm just not getting it. Like, it's not coming through coherent, and I won't do anything if it's not coming through coherent. So at that point, I would look at whatever it is that is not coherent, that's not like congruent in me, and then can come out in a whole clarity and create. I will then look at whatever it is and relabel. So I might be labeling it as something that I did this, for example, I did this with spirit alignment. So that phrase for me didn't come out because I'd heard it before. It came out for me about 2 years ago when I was calling it soul space, or what was the other word that I had for it? Soul path. And it just wasn't fitting with me. And then I had to sit with it, and I'm like, well, can I relabel it? Like, why am I so stuck on the name Soul Path? Like, and I really had to really throw that out and start from the beginning again and just go through the process and feel it through. And so even just by calling something or titling something, like my book, I don't know who knows what it's called, but it's got a name. And for a little while, it wasn't called that. It was called The Spirit Traced, or it was going to be Traces of Spirit. And so I was so stuck on that name, and I'd sort of given the book that name. And then towards like halfway through, I just kept saying the name of the book, the new name of the book, over and over in my head. And I was like, why is this coming through? And then I was talking about it to Laura and to Matt, and it just hit me. It's just like, that's the name of the book. It's not The Spirit Traced. Why am I so stuck on the name of the book, The Spirit Traced? So relabeling can work in so many different ways. It can also work in how our self-narrative as well. So if we're talking to ourselves in our mind about what we're thinking about ourselves, like just going, oh my God, I am so lazy, or, you know, I'm such an idiot. It's like, are you really lazy? Or maybe what it is that you're not wanting to do is there's a bigger reason behind why you don't want to do it. And maybe you can relabel it and just go, actually, I'm not lazy. I really just don't want to do it because. And that way, that self-talk isn't into your vibration and into your frequency, where it's just that constant heart stab or punch in the guts of just like, you're so lazy. Like, can you imagine if your friend just turned you around and just kept saying to you, you're so lazy? You're so lazy? It's like you've got to be really mindful of labeling. So the next question that I have is, am I making permanent decisions off a temporary feeling? Now, this is fairly obvious and self-explanatory in itself. So if you're feeling completely, you know, devastated by something, like shook and shocked and just really kind of floored by something, are you quitting your job based on this temporary feeling? Are you, which is going to have a huge effect? Are you ending a marriage when maybe that's not what's needed? Maybe this is actually a bit of a bomb that's gone off, and the universe has given you something that you needed to make it better, not to leave it, but to make it better. Are you going and getting plastic surgery on your face because at the moment you just really hate your lips or something? I don't know, but like, are you making permanent decisions off of temporary feelings and temporary situations? And that's a really great question, just to pull yourself back in, to just go, is it really that bad? Is it really that bad? Like, do I really need to make a decision right now that's going to affect the rest of my life? And maybe this is something that if I just dig my heels in and ground myself and center, and maybe reach out to someone else or talk about it a little bit more, maybe it will resolve itself without needing to make a decision that's going to be permanent in my life. Now, that question for me actually came, pardon? Who spoke? No one? That question actually came up for me when I was in another suicide attempt. So for me, that was a very dark question that came up, but it has served me from all scales from then on. It serves me from the depths of that darkness all the way through to, am I buying this BMW off a permanent, like, am I making a permanent decision about what I need to pay for the next 5 years off a temporary feeling because it's really pretty? You know, like, it can serve me for something so superficial all the way through to something so serious. So it's a really great question to have on your RYV board. Is my life in danger or not, is my next question. Now, this really comes down to a very basic pull back in to, am I behaving in fight, flight, or freeze? Am I running from this when maybe I am supposed to work through this? Am I fighting this when really what I need to do is walk away from this? Am I freezing here when really what I need to do is fight for myself? So that is a question that most of us are never in danger. Our lives are never really truly in danger at any one moment. We're really just fight, flighting, or freezing from an uncomfortable feeling, an uncomfortable emotion. So that's a question for me that I'm far more aware of the depth of that question, which when everyone reads the book, everyone will be far more aware of too. But it is a very sobering question when it comes to, there are two things. If your life is not in danger, then whatever you're experiencing, you're meant to be experiencing, and don't move away from it. Just keep going. Yes, it's tough. Yes, it's hard, but life was never meant to be easy. It's where the growth is. It's basically about expanding or contracting. And I contracted for 30 years and I'm not doing any more contracting. So next question is, does this support my desired outcome? So for example, this can work through in terms of eating, you know, our nutrition. It's like, is what I ate today supporting my outcome of wanting to have a body that I feel comfortable in going to the beach in during summer? Or is spending, you know, X amount of money supporting my outcome of wanting to save a deposit for a house? But it can also be a feeling or a thought. So is this like, oh, I'm so lazy thought, or I'm such an idiot thought? Is that thought and the emotion that comes with that supporting your outcome, which is that you want to achieve something by the end of the week? So it's about recognizing that that's that thought, and then using some other questions like, can I relabel this to help me out of this? Next question is, am I surrendering? So surrendering is when I throw it up. So I will just sit back and I put it into the Sacred Sunday email. So you can go back, reference back to that. There's a surrender prayer that I have, which is, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say, and to who? And that surrendering is basically, if I am having an issue with something that I cannot get around, I will sit back and I will throw it up, literally just throw the thought and the feeling and the question up to the universe, up to my higher self, and just say, my ego's trying to figure this out, and we're having a tough gig trying to bring that coherence together where I've got super clarity. So can you please bring me clarity? So surrendering is calling it in rather than seeking it. And it's a really powerful question for me that that I do quite often, a lot actually. The next question, is there someone who can show up for me? So this is a really cool question. So what this means is, if we're struggling or if we're going through something, the people that we've chosen to be around us, the friends, the family, the lovers, you know, the people that we've chosen to be around us, they've got things about them that are qualities that maybe we don't have, you know. And so what if, you know, we're sad and we actually say to one of those people, I'm sad, and like they're able to then give me love. So Laura is my perfect example for can someone show up for me? Like, who can show up for me? Laura is one of those beautiful nurturers. She loves to take care of people and fuss over people. She's an acts of service person. So I know that if I'm not feeling great, or if I'm having a day where you know, I'm feeling like I've maybe just given too much, and that's a big thing for me. I usually give way too much, and I do it because I'm so addicted and passionate about it, and I love to give it, and then I have this crash and I'll get sick. And so I have no problem in speaking to Laura that, holy crap, I think I overspent my energy, and whatever I got in return didn't equal that. I wasn't compensated enough for it. And so she's just like the first one to the rescue. She'll make me tea, soup, she'll buy me candles, give me flowers, and it's just random. And she loves to do that. Like, it makes her feel so good to do that. And so it's kind of like a mutual raising of a vibe, because I'm giving her the opportunity to do exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm giving her the opportunity to serve about what she's passionate in, how she serves. So asking someone else, you know, to show up for you, or even just simply just reaching out and recognizing that you may just be giving that person the one up that they needed today too, to give them an opportunity to enjoy doing something that they love to do. Which is why when I say to you guys, send me emails if you've got questions or if you need help or if you're having a bit of a moment, because I love to show up for people. I just love it. The next question is, am I making it too complex? So this is similar to relabeling and the top three questions, which are, am I making permanent decisions and is my life in danger? So for making it too complex, like sometimes we think that we have to make it harder than it needs to be because it'll make it more worthwhile. Or sometimes we think that there needs to be every step followed when maybe we don't. Maybe we can skip a few steps because we don't need to learn those steps. Maybe it's just very fucking simple. Maybe it's just as simple as, I want this and it feels good and I've got that clarity and I'm going to go and get it. Very similar to, you know, this boot camp. It's like, if I think about it too much, I won't do it. I'll talk myself out of it, or I'll get too bogged down in the details and the workings of it and all the nuts and bolts, and I won't do it. But I'll tell you what I do. So my book, Spirit said, you need to write a book. I shit you not. That day I told my PR agent, I'm writing a book. Can we start putting the feelers out? And I advertised, I put a post up that I'm writing a book. Like, I just own it. I'm just like, cool, well, guess I'm writing a book then. And then the book process starts. This boot camp, I messaged Laura and said, brain fart, we're going to have a Raise Your Vibration boot camp. She's just like, I'm in. That night, I'm on Canva creating that Raise Your Vibe, Raise Your Vibe, Raise Your Vibe boot camp on. I didn't even know what I was going to do. Just on. It's like jump and work out how to fly on the way down. And I swear to God, that's just what I do. So if I'd thought about it far too much, obviously Spirit knows that, for me, Spirit knows that, especially within business, Spirit knows that I've got whatever it's going to need. And none of this is stuff that I've had to make up or research on. It's just stuff that is coming out of this body, coming out of experience, and I don't need to do anything other than show up. So if you're making it too complex, maybe it's a matter of just going, right, I'm going to push away all the steps and I'm just going to feel my way through to it. The second last question is it really true? So this is where we can generalize the sort and delete as well. So we can use this question in terms of my marriage is broken. Is that really true? Like, is it really true? Is it really broken? Or maybe it's just an opportunity to look at the broken pieces. Like, maybe it's not broken. Maybe just some of the pieces aren't working properly. You know, maybe you've lost a few pieces. And because when we say my marriage is broken, it's almost like that lends our body to feel and our emotions to start running with it's beyond repair. So we can also, you know, use that in terms of our self-image, like, you know, oh, I'm just so fat. Is that really true? Like, are you really so fat? You know, really? Or maybe there's just some parts of you that you're just recognizing you haven't been loving recently. You know, so like, is it really true? Does that person really hate you? Or maybe it's just a conflict of values. Maybe it's just a conflict of belief systems. Is it really true? Is social media the evil? Really? No, it actually serves a huge purpose for the good. It actually is a very, very powerful tool for those people who are spreading love and light. So the next question is pivot or change. So this is really kind of like a, is it working or not? So should I completely change what I'm doing, or should I just alter it slightly? So when we put a plan of action into process, so for example, diet, is this diet working? Or maybe perhaps like when I did my bodybuilding competition, you have to pivot or tweak a lot all the way through. Not change the whole program. You just have to change the macros and the micros of whatever it is that you're consuming to get little incy-wincy teeny results. So a change can change direction, but a pivot can just give it just that extra little something that it needed. And a change can create a whole lot more stress and drama and energy that's needed to give. A pivot can be something that can be just, I don't know, just one simple teeny tiny movement. I was given this example and an analogy of this pivot or change question a few years ago, and it's one that I like to share because it's cool and it's about space and I love space. So imagine you've got Earth and you've got this asteroid that is heading towards Earth, and like the whole world thinks that that's it, it's Armageddon, it's doomsday. And this asteroid has the power to wipe out the entire human race. It's going to blow Earth to smithereens. So NASA and scientists and geeks all over the world and random people come up with this joint theory that they're going to send this missile out, or a couple of missiles out into the asteroid, and they're going to blow it into smithereens. And they've worked out that some of the smithereens will miss Earth completely, but the ones that do hit Earth, it'll probably likely cause a ton of death. Like it will wipe out a fair chunk of the human race, but not all of us. And we'll be left with some. And we can do that. And that's better than all of us, right? So they send up a few missiles and they underestimate the speed of the asteroid. So they're shitting themselves. Like they're like, far out, this is not working. What are we going to do? So they have their last missile and they send it out, and it actually hits the asteroid, but it just bumps it. Like it's got like this trajectory where it's about to hit the center of Earth, and it just bumps the asteroid, and everyone just falls to their knees. Like it's like everyone's watching it on every TV screen across the country, across the world. We're all watching it, and we just see it bump it, and the missile just deflects and goes off into space. And there's just this collective human race. Like everyone just drops. It's just like we're doomed, hugging each other, loving each other. Then all of a sudden, NASA is looking up at their computer screen and they start seeing the screen starting to reassess, reevaluate, recompute, and they see the new trajectory appear on the screen in front of them, and we all do as well. And what that bump did was time and space means that over the time that we have, which is about 80 days before that asteroid hits Earth, it's going to just it bumped at 2 centimeters in trajectory. And so instead of going like this, 2 centimeters over 80 days meant that it went like this, because it compounded and it completely missed Earth. So a 2 centimeter shift of this life-threatening human race, wiping out of just went bump. But over space and time, it compounds and it makes a really big difference. So that 2 centimeter pivot in our lives with everything that we do could make all the difference. So it's almost like, do we throw the baby out with the bathwater or do we keep the baby? So they're my 9 questions that have really served me through life in the last 20 years for very, very serious things, but then also very, very, simple things and basic things and things that maybe wouldn't have had a huge impact on my life. But they're very helpful.